You're listening to We're All Gonna Die Anyway with Jess Weiner. Don't worry. This is a joyful podcast about life, death, and everything in between. We started recording some of these episodes as early as January and February of this year, which, by the way, feels like a million years ago at this point. But we were able to do some of these interviews here in the studio. So if you're watching me on YouTube, you can see this is our podcast studio here in Los Angeles. I was so happy to create this studio for this show this year. My husband, Felipe, who's an incredible woodworker, helped to build the sound panels, and we were ready to go. We had some wonderful guests that we were able to have in the studio before, of course, we went into our safer at home orders, which now most of our podcasts are going to be done via Zoom. Once in a while, you'll see me. I was able to take the show on the road a little bit in February of this year, but most of our podcasts now are via Zoom. But this one and today's guest, I had a chance to sit across from in here. And he is a guest that I've sat across from a lot of times because today's guest is one of my very best friends in the whole world. His name is Damone Roberts. And if you are not familiar with Damone, he is known as the Eyebrow King. He really is an incredible entrepreneur, a beauty therapist, a beauty pioneer, a motivational speaker, but he is known for shaping the famous faces of Beyoncé and Madonna. He ran a salon in Beverly Hills for almost 20 years called Damone Roberts Beverly Hills. He's done everything and been everywhere. He's had his own line of nail polish with OPI. He is a Jeopardy and Trivial Pursuit question. Really, truly. We're going to talk about that. It's incredible. And he's been a beauty editor at Oprah.com. He's a pioneer in what he does because not only did he kind of put eyebrows on the scene and kind of eyebrows as a beauty accessory, but he's so much more than just the surface in talking about beauty. Damone really has pioneered conversations with both his clients and in the public about beauty from the inside out. And so he's multidimensional in his approach. And when I met him, we were babies in this town. I had just gotten to LA. I think I maybe been here for like 3 months. Somebody recommended I go get my eyebrows done. I don't even know why, because I didn't know eyebrows were even a thing. I had super overplucked 90s eyebrows. And Damone was doing brows in the back of a hair salon and just instant connection. A lot of people that I talk to on this show, you'll find a lot of my friends, I feel very fortunate. We just kind of had an instant connect in. And so we've been up to trouble for the last 20 years together. We travel and do a ton of vacationing together when we can. Damone has been a deep confidant of mine. And because we've known each other for so long and have grown up really as two business people together, making our own businesses in a city like Los Angeles, we've shared a lot of ups and downs, a lot of heartache, a lot of heartbreak, which we'll talk a little bit about on the show today. A lot of laughter. He makes me laugh like no other. He's the only person in the world who calls me WEE-ner. And it doesn't faze me. That's just his name for me. So I knew I wanted to have him on the show, not just because I love him, but because of who he is, what he represents, how he chooses to live his life. He grew up in Oakland as a gay Black man. He has experienced discrimination and stereotype and people really judging him from the outside in. And you'll see as Damone begins to tell you some of his stories that he is just a real surprise at every single level. In fact, we've got a very scandalous story we're going to talk about today. Not a lot of people know about something that happened at my wedding that Damone was a part of. But Damone has a huge heart. And he lives his life by it, deeply spiritual. And I think together we have faced some really dark moments and overcome them. He's lost his mother. We're going to talk about that today. But when we talk about the good life on this show, and when we talk about living a life on the terms that you love, on the terms that are important to you, Damone has really carved out not just a career path that is inherent and unique to his abilities, but he's now into a new chapter. And I was really excited to talk to him about that. He'll quote the great Norman Lear in our conversation today. Norman Lear, wonderful TV pioneer, creator of many, many shows that we've all known and loved. But Norman has a phrase for when it's time to move on to the next thing. He says, over and next. And that was Damone and my like phrase for this year for 2020. And little did we know how much we would need this phrase over and next. I think we're all ready for 2020 to take a hike. But when I talked to Damone in February for this episode, I think a lot of what he said is so resonant for where we are now as a culture and a community. And I'm going to have him back on for more because I know he'll have a wonderful take, an insightful take on what's happening in the world today around discrimination and stereotype and violence, a lot of things he's lived through in his life. But what I know you're going to hear today in the program with Damone is what it feels like to live a life out loud, being unapologetically who you are and creating a good life in your career. So I can't wait for you to meet my friend Damone Roberts. Let's dig in. Hi, Mama. Welcome to We're All Going to Die Anyway.
Thank you. And it's true. We're all going to die anyway.
It is true.
Yeah,
it's probably the truest thing.
It's really true. When I told a few people I was going to tape a podcast called We're All Going to Die Anyway, they kind of looked at me like, and I was like, it's a good thing.
Right.
Because it means that we got to live our best lives and be our best selves. And
that's right.
Where we're here.
I know.
Right? That's how I take it.
Me too. That's why I'm doing this, because it gives you an urgency to live.
Absolutely agree.
So you're in our new studio.
I love your new studio. I really do.
I do too.
It's beautiful.
We've been talking for a long time. So we've been friends for over 20 years. You've lived this journey with me.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey.
But you know what's great, Weiner, is that we've always had each other's backs no matter what.
I know.
For our journey. So I think that's really
We
special.
met each other as babies here in town.
I know. We were so naive and green and,
we
and
were
innocent.
Such babies.
And everything. We were just like, hi. we were.
I know. I love us
innocent.
Then, though, when I think about it. We were so hungry, too. You were doing brows at Sager French.
I was in a little room
In
the
a
size
little
of
room.
this chair, literally. And I had a line going out the door.
Yeah.
And I just knew there was more out there.
I know.
Yeah.
And I had just gotten here. I was trying to figure out, I wanted to do something in television. I wanted to do social justice work.
I remember your apartment.
Do you remember the first one?
I do. I remember all of them, actually.
I know.
Yeah. That's how long we've known each other.
Moving on
I
up.
remember the office and the drawings.
Yes.
The little studios and just all those things, which is pretty much what you've
I know, we've made it.
created.
I know.
Here.
It's kind of crazy. But to also have somebody in your life like we are, where we can track each other as we're going, is really rare.
Yeah. And also someone that we can help support each other when one is needed to help hold the other one up when shit gets real.
I know.
Yeah.
So speaking of shit getting real, let's talk about where you grew up. Where do you grew up in a lot of places, but you kind of think about Oakland as home, right?
I grew up in a lot of places because my father was constantly getting promoted and we would move a lot as a family. But my mother would always send us back to Oakland, which is where all my cousins and my grandmother and everyone else lived, so that we would never forget our roots.
Interesting. Yeah. And so that's really what you consider your childhood.
I do. I still consider Oakland home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know anything about your birth story?
My mother had me at 17, very young, and was looked down upon, especially then.
Yeah.
And my biological father didn't want to have anything to do with me. And my father, the only one I've ever known, raised me and adopted me like at 18. By the way, I didn't find out that I was adopted, that he wasn't my biological father until I was about 18 as well. But I knew that I wasn't, I knew that I was hidden. I know I was told my mother had to wear long trench coats to cover her pregnancy, so no one would know that she was pregnant, because it's more important what the neighbors think, of course, than
there was so much shame at that time.
Just
and there still is so much shame, I think, for young mothers.
I don't understand that kind of stuff, but I marvel at my friends that are born, and there's there's showers and there's gifts, and it's like welcome to the world versus being born and being hidden.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I wonder what the different outcome would be.
What do you think that meant for you psychologically? Did you think about that a lot growing up?
I didn't really think about it a lot because, again, I was so naive and I was so innocent. I just really.
You just living your life.
You're just living your life. They say youth is wasted on children because youth is wasted on the young because you're young. You're not thinking about anything else. You're just having fun.
When you think about your childhood, if you could come up with like 3 words off the top of your head of what your childhood was like, 3 words to describe it, what would that be?
I think the first word, truthfully, would be loved, because my mother loved hard. She did. Like I said, went through a lot of shame having me, but once she had me, it was like, that's her baby,
Yeah.
So loved first and foremost.
Okay.
A dreamer. I've always liked to dream. They say that it's a part of being a Pisces, you know. I don't know, but I do like to dream. And I think the third word would probably be, gosh, Weiner. I know I'm still the only one that says gosh.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think
Dreamer.
Dreamer, loved, and I think just open. I would say open. That means open to the possibility of what could be, you know. The dream was the first step, and the openness was the second step of that for me. And what I mean by that is that I've always dreamed big. I say I dream in color.
Yeah.
But I've always been open to the universe, God, higher power, whatever you want to call it.
You've always been connected like that, even when you were little.
Even as a little kid, yeah.
Wow.
I always knew that there was more and that it was bigger than us, even as a little kid. Yeah.
What did that feel like to know that young? Was it a burden? Was it a blessing? What did it feel like?
I think it was a blessing more than anything else. We weren't, you know, a lot of people of color are raised in the church. We weren't really raised in the church. You know, we were raised Catholic, but we weren't raised in the church, so to speak. And
so faith was there, but not sort of
faith
an organized
was there, but it wasn't
practice.
organized religious practice. Exactly. And my mother was one of those mothers that, you know, you could be whatever you want to be. You could be president one day. You could be this and you could be that. And as a kid, you believe it.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, well, maybe I'll be the president one day. Can you imagine? But
I can't imagine that,
But
actually.
my point is, like, I've always been open to the higher power kind of guiding me into the best version of who I am intended to be, even as a kid.
And then when you think about your childhood now, when you look back now as an adult and you might see it through a different set of eyes, what did you learn the most from your childhood? What is a lesson that you've taken with you into adulthood now?
Lesson I've taken with me into adulthood now, I would say you can't judge a book by its cover, for sure, because I've always been judged by my cover by people that don't know me, always. To this day.
And that's a mistake.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake.
Why? Tell people why.
It's a mistake. Well, there's many different reasons why it's a mistake, but it's a mistake because I'm so much more than what people see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think they see, you know.
What do you think they see?
I think they see a guy that has salons in Beverly Hills, and he has a salon in New York and Fifth Avenue, and he drives convertible sports car, and he has hair, and he wears sparkly things, and they think that he's just out every night swinging from the chandeliers and doing everything. But the truth of the matter is, I'm such a homebody. I love a good book. I love, you know, my friends and being with my friends, my people.
Yeah.
I turn down way more invitations to events than I attend.
Yeah.
And like to the point that when I attend, everyone's like, oh my God, you came out the house. I think that people think that, in business, people have always underestimated me, and I think that sometimes that could be a good thing because sometimes you're 2 steps ahead and they don't even know you're 2 steps ahead.
Right.
But I also think that there's lots of preconceived notions. You know, I'm a black man. I'm a gay man. I am considered very successful by many people, and I think all those things come with preconceived notions, even though that's just a part of who I am, but it's not who I am.
Who do they think you were when you were little? Like little Damone?
Well, again, I being born gay is just who I was born to be. And in my culture, that was not something that was necessarily looked upon as something that was good. You know, you got to be strong because it's going to be a harder world for you. And you got to face those obstacles head on. And whatever that is, you can't be soft in any way. And to a lot of people, being gay meant being soft. You know what I mean? And again, it's the complete opposite of who I am because, again, I'm a gay man, but I'm so not soft.
Honey.
Anyone that knows me.
I was just going to say, I'm just going to fast forward to our wedding. Felipe and I are getting married. We have one unruly,
this is a great story.
Drunken guest who wasn't really a good friend of ours, but there was always that one person.
Always that
who was
one
disruptive,
person.
and he was harassing some of the younger girls at our wedding. And you and our best friend Kenny, also gay,
Kenny.
Not black, but also gay.
Also gay.
But
A gay blonde boy.
But you went to go take care of this guy, and you said, bitch, I might look pretty, but I'm a fucking... What did you say? You said, if I'm from Oakland, I will fuck a brother up.
I don't remember what I said, but I said something to the effect of it may be a pretty picture, but I will still fuck you up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's messing up my best friend's wedding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was like,
asshole.
I'm not having this at all.
No.
And he was really obnoxious and he was obscene and gross. And I had to take care of him.
I know, but that's not something people would think.
They would
you
never
would do.
think that I would do that, but I had to take care of him for sure. And to this day, he hasn't been seen or heard from.
To this day, he's disappeared.
To this day,
we don't know where he went.
Yeah, no one knows. Only me and Kenny.
I know.
But he hasn't bothered you again. I don't. Now, how's he?
I know he hasn't.
And he won't. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Well, what does this do in your brain as you grow up? Who you are unapologetically with a mother who loves you super hard.
Yeah.
And with dreams that are bigger than the walls around you and maybe people in your life. And, you know, what does it instill in you as a value in life? Like, what did you take from that you think is like undeniably Damone because of those experiences? I have my answer for that, but I'm curious what you would say is like a core value that you have now that you hold most dear.
I think that I never really, I start with nice. You know, I'm a nice person. I really welcome people. I never let anything go to my head. Truthfully, I don't. And I'm always grateful. First thing I do when I wake up is thank you for another day. I'm grateful. Please guide my steps to live my best, ultimate life. Yeah. You know, I think that I'm caring, and I think that I got all that from being a childhood because I was so different. You know what I mean? I couldn't go to my friends at school, or they weren't my friends. I couldn't go to kids at school because I didn't look like them at all. And they wanted, you know, kids, they wanted to keep everyone to look like them with each other. And I couldn't go to my family because I was gay. Even though I didn't know it was gay at the time. I just knew that it was different.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I didn't understand what that meant, but I knew that it was so different. It was like the things that I liked. The things I like to do, the people that I were attracted to, you know, they didn't look like who I was supposed to be attracted to. So you build this inner strength within you.
That's what I would say. Yep.
To face no matter what the situation in reality is, because you have to deal with it, period.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what I would say. Like, that was exactly the phrase that I was thinking that I would say is one of your strongest core values. You are strong like nobody's business. I mean, in the amount of time that I've known you, loved you, watched you, the shit that you have overcome, the obstacles that you've lived. It's been a lot of stuff, but I think the strength has been unwavering. And I know that your mom was a huge part of that fortification for you.
For sure.
And so when we first met, you're doing brows in this little tiny room in Sager French. When did the idea pop into your head that you could be bigger than that and that you wanted to own your own business and have a salon across the street from Saks?
It was funny. Do you remember I used to do music?
Yeah.
And I thought that for sure I was going to be the next big rock star. Like, for sure. You couldn't tell me nothing. And I would do these shows and they would sell out and women would throw me their panties and everything. I mean, we'd go on tour and me and the
What would you do with
guys,
those panties?
I would grab them and throw them away. Like, yuck, gross. But it was so much fun because I loved being on stage. I love an audience. I love people. I love communicating with people. And I'm one of those weird people that I'm actually more comfortable in front of a room full of people than I am one-on-one. I love an audience, you know? And the beauty thing just kind of happened because it was so easy for me to do, like the eyebrows and the makeup. You know, I studied art in college.
Yeah, you're an artist for sure.
And I'm an artist in the truest sense of the word. And to me, I didn't understand why people were so freaked out and excited about it because it was like, I'm just shaping your eyebrows. I'm just doing your makeup. But they were like, but I never looked like this. And they started crying. And I was like, this is really insane. And I had the idea one day.
Pause for 1 second. In the name of beauty, I need a tissue.
See,
we're not going to stop down, but I want to just, I know. Thanks. We're just going to keep these here.
Keep it going.
There we go. Yeah.
I'm on a roll.
I know you are in a roll. So when you start to do other people's, sorry, it's a beauty break, y'all. It's real life here. We're all going to die anyway. We're all going to die anyway. Lauren's going to push our tissues down.
And everything.
But when you're doing, I think what I'm hearing you say too is like when you are doing your art on somebody's face, that's your palette in that moment. You're also bringing to life a possibility in somebody that they haven't seen before.
Yeah. And once I surrendered to that part of my talent, it just grew to be something that I didn't even imagine in my wildest dream. And again, I'm a dreamer, you know, and I dream in color. But I mean, I had no idea it was going to go into what it became. Yeah.
It's incredible. So you opened the salon how many years ago? 20, right?
Almost 20 years ago.
Damn.
Yeah, literally.
Because I remember that opening. No, it
that
is
was an
crazy.
Opening, right?
That was an opening.
I mean, we had the Backstreet Boys. We had VH1.
You have a lot of famous people in your life.
Oh my God. It was so many famous people.
But the most important day, let's not forget, is the day that I called you and told you what?
The most important day is the day that I was driving home from work one day and you called me on my cell phone.
It was probably a flip phone.
It probably was a flip phone. And you said, bitch. And I was like, you're like, I'm playing Trivial Pursuit and you're a question.
Blew my mind.
I remember that so clearly. I was like, shut up.
I was playing Trivial Pursuit with my cousins and you're a fucking question in the game.
It was insane. And a little backstory in that question, because I had no idea Trivial Pursuit did that.
Yeah.
But I grew up like every other gay boy in my generation, obsessed over Madonna.
Right.
Madonna was everything to me, like posters on my wall and everything. And the question, for those of you that don't know, is that Damone Roberts has become famous for, what was the question? Shaping the brows of
famous face.
Of something about Madonna. Yeah. And something about Madonna, but to think that my name is in pop culture, literally pop culture, next to someone who I grew up fantasizing about, idolizing, I meant, not fantasizing.
We got to tell Ramon.
I know. Gay, but still, it's Madonna. Idolizing, if you will. And we're a part of something in pop culture together next to each other. And it's so
that's
surreal.
Not the only pop culture moment.
It's not. Yeah.
No, it's not. You're also a fucking Jeopardy question.
I'm a Jeopardy question.
Or a Jeopardy answer.
Question.
Is it a question?
The question was, what parts of Damone Roberts has become famous for plucking? Isn't it crazy? I don't even know the questions now, but my name is in it. And the guy said, what is eyebrows? So it's
bananas.
Crazy. It's so surreal. Alex Trebek said my name correctly, and it's like I'm there.
Alex Trebek, like
is that his name?
Alex Trebek. Alex Trebek.
And it's just so crazy because what I learned through that whole process, Weiner, is that you can't ever put a ceiling on your dream because you think, what could be bigger than Trivial Pursuit? And then you get a phone call one day, and you're a question on Jeopardy. Then you get a phone call one day, and you're a nail polish in OPI, and you're get a call one day and you're dealing with Oprah and you're dealing with Fox and you're dealing with Disney and it's just been the most insane journey.
And let's also just, to break it down, to be really real, all those things happened to you and you worked really hard for it. You put in longer and later hours than anybody else. You put money and capital on the line. You've dealt with disappointment, debt, heartbreak, heartache, that's the other death, which I want to talk about. But these are all the other things besides those accolades that people don't see about you.
Right.
I mean, I feel privileged because I'm a close friend of yours and I've witnessed this as a human being, but I think it's one of the most important parts of your story too. You didn't just get those phone calls. You co-created those phone calls.
I co-created those phone calls. It's true. I always say it's like a Broadway play. And what I mean by that is that in front of the curtain, things are so smooth, but behind that curtain, it's like the duck.
Yes, it's all the
under water. It's like just paddling, but it's on top. It's just.
But
gliding.
Out of all the successful and famous people that you know, don't you think that is the story for everybody?
For everybody, And I literally can truly say, without a shadow of a doubt, I've worked. These hands have touched every person for real. And everyone has that in common. Everyone has worked for it, and everyone has gone through obstacles. We all think that our story is more special than the other person's, but when it all boils down to it, we're all getting
gonna die
through,
anyway.
And we're all going to die anyway. You know
but
what
honestly,
I mean?
But that's why I love the title of the show, because it is the one we have two unifiers. We are all born and we're all going to die.
Right.
How we spend that dash in between on our tombstone or however we're going to go, how we spend that time in between is what we get to be the creators of in this life.
Yeah.
But we all are born and we're all going to die. And nobody gets out of this world alive. I don't care how much damn money you have. I don't care what you've accomplished.
We're all going to die anyway.
Yeah.
Period. And like you said, those are two things in life that are inevitable. You're born, just as sure as you're born, you're going to die. Yeah.
And I know for you that death is really present in your life because you lost your mom.
I lost my mother right after I got married. Literally less than a month later.
I know.
And it wasn't like it wasn't like she was sickly or anything like that. It was just one of those days you get a call and your life changes. And that's something that's interesting too about life is that it's not a dress rehearsal. You know what I mean? We're all going through it and going through it and going through it. And you never know how things can change. We just experienced that with Kobe.
Yeah.
It's like things just happen just like that. And so what are you going to do in the living moments?
Right.
Yeah.
It makes you have more urgency.
It makes you have more urgency, and that when my mother died, I mean, my mother was my everything, and she was my biggest supporter and everything else. And
she was how old? Young?
She was 54. Yeah. And as we get older, you realize that, oh my gosh, that's only
so young.
Yeah, it's so young. It really is so young. And I look back on it and I go, how did I get through that? How
did you get through that?
I don't know, Weiner. Like, truly, I really don't know. I know that I grieved for a little bit, but I also knew that I had a business to run. You know what I mean? And I had to go back and I had to push that button that we push. And no one really saw the depth of the grieving that I was experiencing, And I've since lost a few other people, a natural part of life. But I'm not as afraid of death as I once was. You know what I mean? I think that, again, like you said, it's inevitable. I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. Obviously there's certain ways you can go that are bad, but I think that it's just natural. A part of it. It's just natural. Yeah.
But I remember what I was saying is like, I can still see your mom's face at your wedding. She was having so much
fun. And she was so proud too.
Yeah, she's
and
very
that's a
proud
perfect
of you.
example of someone that really grew a lot because she, like everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people of her generation didn't really understand that her son was gay.
Right.
And the fact that he's marrying another man.
Right.
You know what I mean? But by the time we got married, she was like, I dare anyone to say anything about this. And
she was your biggest protector in that relationship.
And I remember she told her brothers and sisters, when they were invited to the wedding, that if you don't go, just know you're making a choice and you won't be seeing me again type of thing. Your mother was no joke. She was a petite little short woman, but she was no joke.
No.
And it's true. It's like you get older and you realize how important family really is.
Yeah. I mean, you have, I think, I didn't know her very well, but from the stories you tell about her, I think you have the absolute best parts of her in you.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment to me. I appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you.
And so
I love my mom.
I know.
Love my mom still.
Yeah, love. Present tense.
Present tense.
Because that love is still here.
Absolutely.
She's everywhere.
Absolutely.
And so now you've been married for how long?
We just celebrated 15 years of marriage.
To Ramon.
I still laugh when I hear that.
To Ramon Leone.
Yeah, our friends call us the Moans. Yeah.
But why was he a perfect partner for you to marry?
When I started dating Ramon, it was just easy. It's just easy.
Oh, I remember the day you met him.
Remember? Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's never been work with Ramon. It's just always someone that has been there. Looking back on things like my mother's death and et cetera, and the things I've been through with the company, even behind the scenes, I don't know if I would have been able to get through it all without having the support of someone there. So again, it goes back to that thing that there's something bigger than us that orchestrates things, if you will. And I remember the day that I got married, I remember my mother was notoriously late for everything. I remember saying, Mom, it's my wedding.
Right.
Like, be there for real. And she's like, okay, I'll be there. And I remember I got there really early that morning at we got married at this beautiful estate. And I remember the gates open and she was just standing there waiting for me. And I remember, I'll never get that image of her smiling. And I also think of when I do pass and go into my next part of this journey.
She'll be waiting for you.
Behind the gates. You know what I mean? Just standing there smiling because it was such a beautiful thing. But our mothers walked us down the aisle.
Yes.
And gave us away.
Yes.
And I believe that, again, this was only a few weeks before she passed. And I remember she looked around and said, you take care of my baby.
Yeah.
And it's almost like it kind of orchestrated itself that he ended up being the one
to take
care of me through that next phase.
And he also has loss in his life.
He's lost a lot of people in his life.
Yeah.
A lot of people in his life.
And his brother.
His brother died at a very young age. Yeah, very young age. And they were extremely close, too. So
I think when somebody experiences that kind of loss, there's a capacity to show up. Or there can be a capacity to show up.
Yeah. And people that haven't lost a loved one, it's indescribable, the kind of pain. Mm-hmm. I remember, one thing I remember that I'll never, ever forget is that the services for my mother, I was still numb, but I remember my grandmother, her mother, let out this guttural scream that was inhumane. I've never heard a sound like that in my life, ever. And I never hope to ever hear it again. But I can't imagine what it's like to lose your child, And so it was hard for me to lose my mother, but that was her baby. You know what I mean? And so I don't know why we have to go through the things we have to go through in this journey called life, but I also know that after my mother passed, I really started just being a lot freer with who I was and what I wanted to do.
I noticed that.
Yeah.
If you could look at your life now, what would be the 3 words you would describe the current state? What are the 3 words that come
for
to
now?
mind? Yeah, right now. If we take a pulse check of this moment.
I would say right now, I think that the first word that comes to mind is blessed. Because I know that there's something bigger than me that has been guiding me to keep me going. I would say...
and most likely your mama on the other end.
Oh, for sure.
Pushing.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I see her constantly. She comes to me in many different ways. I would say for sure that I am... God, there's so many things that come to mind.
Just say the first thing. Yeah, say the thing. Yeah.
I would say blessed. I would say for sure secure. Yeah, very secure.
What does that mean now?
That means that it's been a journey for me.
Yeah.
And I've had to grow into the man that I am today. And I'm proud of that man that I am today. And it's going to take a lot to break this man. You know what I mean? It's like everything that was the worst thing that I could ever imagine
has built you.
Has built me. And truly, WEE-ner has happened already. You know, I remember literally thinking as a kid that I could never survive if my mother died. I remember thinking that. And she died. I remember thinking all these other things that have happened that were just like the worst things that could happen. And they actually happened. And I'm still here.
That's right.
And I'm okay. So I'm just secure. I'm secure in who I am. And I'm secure that I'm protected.
Would that be your 3rd word?
Yeah.
Protected.
Yeah.
Ooh, what a powerful mantra that is, though, too.
Those are the words that come to mind immediately.
Blessed, secure, and protected. And what's protecting you now? Is it these experiences?
I think it's the experiences. I think that I've put in the work. You know, none of this was handed to me in any way. I built this from scratch completely.
Yep.
And I think I'm protected because of the fact that I always come from a good place. You know, I come from a good place. I don't try to take advantage of anyone. I don't try to do anything that's not the right thing to do, you know? And I think that when you do that, I think that there's something bigger than us that kind of surrounds you.
I do too.
And carries you over.
I think there's something when you get on the other side of a hardship or a loss or all the things that are taboo to really talk about.
Right.
To me, that's the good stuff. It doesn't feel good for sure, but it's like the good stuff. It's the stuff that really makes us secure or strong or centered, powerful. Like, you know, people want all of those things, but I think we sort of think that they're maybe easy fixes or easy gets. And I don't necessarily believe that we have to struggle in order to always have success. In fact, I'm trying to change my mindset around that too. But I think all the things that have like knocked us down, when we get back up, like that's the good stuff.
Yeah. I think there's a Japanese proverb that says fall down 7 times, get up 8. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's true, you know, you got to get back up. And we all are going to fall inevitably.
Yes.
But how many of us get back up, you know?
That's
and you know something else that's interesting is at this point in my journey, when I do fall, I allow myself to feel the pain and to wallow in it for a minute because I think it's okay. You know, before it was inbred in me that I can't lay down and show that and I can't cry and I can't do those other things. Sometimes it's okay to lay in bed for a day and just kind of wallow in it and feel it, you know? And then I think that there comes a point when you got to say, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
And you put on your cape and you fly out the window. You know what I mean? I mean, really, you put on your cape and you fly out the window. Yeah. It's like no more Haagen-Dazs, no more under the covers. It's like, I'm done with this. Yeah. And you move on.
One of the things that you and I bond a lot over in our friendship is running a small business.
Hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Seriously.
Ever.
I know.
Never.
And people really don't understand. I think this is my chance to talk to a fellow business owner and say there's like a million articles about shitty bosses. And I would just like to say there are equal amount of articles that should be written about shitty employees.
And there's never anything. The law is on the side of the employee in every way possible.
California is a hard state to run a business in.
It really is.
But you and I have really built businesses at the same time. And it was always uncanny. I know, from the ground up. Totally, both of us self-made. But what I love about our relationship is literally also every time we get into each other's orbit, even if we haven't seen each other for a long time, we're also experiencing the same lesson at the same time.
Always. It's so interesting. I think that's one of the reasons why we were meant to be in each other's journey.
I do
we
too.
Definitely help each other a lot.
But what do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned in building your business? Is it about loyalty? Like what is the biggest thing?
I think that I'm at a different point in my journey now because I'm downsizing my company and I'm doing something smaller now. And I've had, I did the New York Fifth Avenue salon and the Beverly Hills salon simultaneously. And I was flying back and forth constantly, and I had a full staff in New York and a full staff in Beverly Hills and all the stuff. And I have a warehouse that ships all my products, and that's another full staff. And I was doing it all for a minute, but as I go into this next part of my journey, I decided that it's about me, because the truth of the matter is I've always taken care of everyone else.
Yeah.
I got their children in school and their car payments and their house payments, and I'm the one. A lot of times I didn't get paid,
right?
Because I was making sure everyone else is getting paid.
That's
and
right.
a lot of times I just I became unhealthy.
Yeah.
I started doing things that I knew weren't good for me. Just to have a minute for myself, I started eating like crazy just because it would numb me to some extent.
And soothe. Right.
I even went through a phase when I smoked, and it's like, I'm so not a smoker, but I literally it was my moment to go outside of my salon in the back and have a minute to myself.
But I think that those things normally happen too when we're really super out of whack and out of balance, right?
And I was out of whack and out of balance. And so this next part of my journey for sure is downsizing and doing what works best for Damone first.
Let's talk about we got together this year for New Year's Eve, me and Felipe and you and Ramon.
Yes.
And we made our vision boards. And your phrase for this year?
Over and next.
Yeah. Over and next.
Yeah, I was hiking one day, which is one things I do now that brings me to peace throughout everything. And I was listening to a podcast, actually, and it was Oprah. And she was talking to Norman Lear, the television producer. And he said that one of the things he's discovered about life is that everything in life has an over and everything in life has a next. And you quite simply can never get to your next until you close your over. And if there was a hammock laying in between the over and the next, it would be called living in the moment. Oof. Yeah. And it just really made me have that reaction. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I was like, you know what? It's right. And I think that, I walked by my old salon today. And again, I walked out of that salon for 20 years, and everyone has been in those doors. And it was such an iconic part of Beverly Hills.
Yep.
And everyone always asks me, what do you feel when you walk by there? And it's vacant now with a lease sign in front of it.
What do you feel?
I truly, truly feel nothing. I feel nothing. And I ask myself, am I just saying that to make myself feel better, or do I really feel nothing?
No, I think it was time.
And the truth of the answer is that it was time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it's over, it's over. And you can't
agree.
get to your next. It's just that simple. And I know that there's so much more for me on the other side of it. But I had to close that to get to that. And exactly, I don't know what that is, but I know it's more.
But that's the beauty of living.
And that's the beauty of living.
And
that's
creating,
the beauty of being,
and dreaming.
And staying connected to your higher source, I believe.
So as you think about what to create next, I think you said something that I really deeply believe in, which is that we have to close something in order to begin. There's always a death of some sort, of some part of our life, of some dream, of some job, of some moment. Something has to die and close in order for something new to begin.
Right.
And I now look at this even more beyond just like physical death, the metaphorical death of what do I need to give up in order to get something else? So what do you think you've learned to give up in order to get to your next place in life, to get to be in more alignment with yourself? What did you have to give up to get there?
I had to give up my preconceived notion that everything needed to be perfect in order for me to be present, And it got really bad. It got really to the point that even every night when I leave the salon, I would have to walk through and make sure all the pictures were straight and everything was clean. And I have a cleaning lady that would come and clean at night, but I still would do it every night. I'm okay now with things are going to get done the way they're going to get done. And if they don't get done, it's okay as well. You know what I mean? I had a moment before I closed the salon, like, what if I do something smaller? Are people going to still follow me?
Right.
And I had the realization that it's not the salon that they're coming to see. They're coming to see Damone, the person, as well. And they'll go with you where they want to go with you. And the ones that don't, it's okay because they're not meant to be in this next part of your journey. And that was a good thing for me to learn as well. I don't let anyone disrespect me in any way. And what I mean by that is that if a client comes in and there's an issue, I have no problem saying maybe you should go somewhere else.
And I know that's right. I witnessed that firsthand. Remember?
Did you?
Oh yes. Like a million years ago, I remember some lady came into your salon. Like, she was late, but she was also the kind of client that was late and pissed because she was late. And then, like, she had to wait. Yeah, you wanted to. Do you remember that? And
I deal with it daily in Beverly Hills.
Well, this is what I remember witnessing of you. And also, just another reason why I loved you more is you were like very calm with her. And you said, let me make you an appointment at the salon up the street.
Up the street.
And you all called and made her an appointment. And you were like,
you should go, bye. And I mean that. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not doing that anymore. No. It's like the things I've been through in my journey, I don't need any extra angst in any certain kind of way.
I feel like that's the theme you and I keep continuously coming back to, which is like getting closer and closer to ourselves, to our own self-worth, to our own self-value, to recognizing people patterns in advance and people that we keep attracting into our life to teach us those lessons, and then finally graduating from those lessons. Graduating,
because you will repeat the lesson over and over and over until you get it. That's what I know for sure. You'll repeat those lessons over and over and over.
Do you ever think about what a perfect death would look like for you? If you could design your perfect exit of this world?
I have a playlist for my funeral.
Of course you do.
I love music.
I know. What people don't people don't understand this about you. Damone is, if you're friends with him, he's the resident DJ. Yeah. We go on a vacation every year together with just our core group of friends. And Momo does the music.
And if I wasn't doing what I was doing, I think I could probably seriously be a DJ. Yeah. I love music.
And you're so good at it.
Thank you, Weiner. Why
do you love music?
I think it's the one universal language. It takes you somewhere, you know? It's my drug. I mean, I really, music is that strong and serious for me.
So what's your playlist for your death?
I know one of my songs for sure is La Vie en Rose. Yeah.
Who's singing it?
The Grace Jones version, of course. Yeah, the Grace Jones version. But for sure, you know, there's a song by Diana Ross called Remember Me, which is a great song, you know. Remember me as a big balloon that filled the sky, and all these different phrases that I think are really, really, really appealing. But I think a perfect death would be probably to fall asleep, to go to sleep and be surrounded by your loved ones in your own home, in your own bed, you know.
Naked.
Yeah.
With a comfy robe on.
Comfy, and everything is like the porn is hidden. Everything is gone, so no one knows where certain things are. And you know what I mean? And you got the other one's taken care of financially.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the things you don't want people to see, you can hide. And no one knows where they are.
You better make sure you write down your playlist so that if you go before I do, I'll make sure we play that music.
For sure.
Yeah. But are you not scared of dying?
Not like I once was, Weiner. I can't explain it. I think it's just from living. It's like it's just a natural part of the circle of life. And I think that you really just have to accept that it is a part of life.
Yeah.
And that when it's your time, it's your time. You know, people are like, I'm not going to fly because I don't want the plane to go down. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I don't think you could do anything without
you can't
circumstances. You can't control it, how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think you just live your life and realize that we're all going to die anyway, and you just keep going.
You just keep going.
I really believe that.
I love you, friend.
I love you, friend, for sure. We've been through so much, Weiner. Remember we manifested your husband?
We did.
We were in Mexico, and we were sitting around the table, and we said, okay, what does a perfect husband for Jessica Weiner look like? And we all started talking about it, and we held hands, and we
literally
brought him to fruition. And now you're married to this man that we created. Literally, the guy we created.
I know, to a T. In Mexico, we manifested a Mexican.
In Mexico, we manifested a Mexican. Felipe Lopez.
But we did. We were very intentional that year. This is partly what's so great about our trips together. They're very spiritual. They're very curated with the people that we want to be kind of the closest to. But that year, I was ready for partnership, and you helped me bring that vision into being. So you are a dreamer. Yeah, I'm a dreamer. And I also want to say that you are such a giving friend. I mean, you really are. You're someone that just, if you win, we all win. You know what I mean? And how much do you want of my pie? You know what I mean? That sounds so funny. It's safe with you, though. It's safe with you. Right. But it's like you've always been such a great friend. Like we vacation together every year, like you said, and that is due to your giving. I mean, you're the main person. You get the house, you arrange the trips, you do everything, and we just get to show up. But that's my love language. I like being able to share in that way, but with only a certain amount of people. I mean, I'm also...
It's a small group.
It's a selective group of people.
It's a great group, though. It
but
really
is. And it's actually been, I think, very formative for all of us in our lives because that group has gone through many losses and many changes together.
It really has, yeah.
And manifested a lot of big things. But I also think, you know this, you and I have talked about this, when we get older, you know, you don't have as many friends, actually. You have a lot of acquaintances, I find, but your friends kind of get smaller and smaller.
I literally know half of LA.
Yeah.
Literally, but I have very few people that I call friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call you friend.
I call you friend for sure.
I love you.
Hands down. You're my girl.
This is what you said. I might look pretty, but I'll fuck a bitch up. That's what you said to that boy at our wedding. You said, I might look good, but I'll fuck a bitch up.
And I fucked him up too, by the way. I did. I fucked him up. Like I said, you never heard from him again. You will never hear from him again. And no one knows where the body's buried. And I have no problem stating that. But he was messing up my girlfriend's wedding. It's like, what are you kidding me?
Honestly,
yeah.
So rude.
So rude.
I love you, Momo. Please don't call the police after this episode.
Yeah, please don't call the police, whatever you do. It was done in love.
It's all done in love.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Momo.
Anything for you.
What did I tell you? How do you not love Damone? I mean, this is the thing that I take away every time I talk to Damone. I feel hope. I feel hopeful. I feel stronger. I told you one of the words that comes to mind when I think about him is strength, but it's because it's this like deep down, dig in strength that we all have. But when I see it in my friend, it just reminds me that I have it inside of me. And I think one of the things that I'm going to take away from this conversation the most is the don't judge a book by its cover, especially in our sort of super fast, insta-famous world where we're just putting out the best versions of ourselves all the time. We're judging a lot. We're judging ourselves a lot. We're judging other people a lot. And nobody knows your journey. Nobody knows your losses. Nobody knows your wins. And I love being reminded of that so you can dig in really good with the people in your life that you want to trust and build those relationships like we have. And I just feel real grateful. For me, that's the goal, baby. You've been listening to We're All Gonna Die Anyway with me, Jess Weiner. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And you can also watch this podcast by checking out my YouTube channel for filmed episodes, behind-the-scenes footage, and all other kinds of amazing video goodies. And of course, you can always visit me at jessweiner.com. We're All Gonna Die Anyway is exec produced by me and produced by Lauren Chavez Myers. Our episodes are recorded, filmed, and edited by Jeff Franklin and Adam Lippert of B Film. And our original amazing music is by Becca and Destiny Petrell. As always, I want to send a special thank you to the love of my life, the amor de mi vida, Felipe Lopez. And if you love this podcast, please make sure to tell your friends, subscribe, and leave a review at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. Most importantly, if there is something that stood out to you from today's episode, I want to hear about it. So if you want to share your own story, leave a comment, ask a question, please send me an email at podcast@jessweiner.com. I can't wait to hear from you. Bye, babies.